Welcome back. You're watching The Big Idea, and other critical issues plaguing South African municipalities persist. This as the burden for cost recovery in essential service continues to grow. With challenges looming in rate taxes and municipal financial woes, multiple questions arise. Is this purely a financial crisis? Are politics at play? And are there solutions within reach? Joining us to discuss these pressing matters in detail is Head of Energy and Electricity Distribution at SALGA, Nhlanhla Ngidi, and Professor Lawrence Hamilton, who is Professor in the Department of Political Studies at Wits School of Social Sciences. Good afternoon to you both, and thank you so much for your time. Maybe I'll start with both of you, asking you about whether, as a country, we're adequately quantifying the risk of municipalities to the sustainability of the country, to the stability of the country here. Just looking at how they're being run, also just looking at revenue and profitability issues. Nhlanhla, we'll start with you.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am, and good afternoon to you and the viewers at home. My short answer to this is we need to look at the ability of the people at most, because sitting in local government and as a local government practitioner, we do a lot of assessments to municipalities, including the skills that the municipalities have. You've got a lot of very, very hardworking engineers and managers in municipalities who are very frustrated, by the way, because they are working with the little they have. These entities that they are running for electricity are not well funded, and our people, our citizens, they are not paying. People don't want to pay. We've got this bad culture, and we've been talking about it for years. People do not want to pay. People don't understand the consequence of not paying your service provider and consuming those services. Yes, there are other challenges in municipalities, but look, I'm not a politician. I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm going to talk about technical issues. I deal with these colleagues from day to day, and these colleagues are hardworking and frustrated because the money is not coming in. The people are not paying the municipalities. Look at what is happening in Tshwane, the capital, which was doing so well in the past couple of years, and now it's also getting in the list of those municipalities that owe Eskom. And why is that? There is an increase of losses. Municipalities, the Tshwane municipality right now is only collecting about 60% of what it sells to the people in terms of electricity. So 40% of the people in the capital are not paying for it. So it's a problem, and we need to work with it, with the community, so that the community understands that for these municipalities to actually run and run well, they need to actually get what is due to them, because they are not like government. The funding model of municipalities that they should fund themselves with what they are collecting from ratepayers, and people need to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nhlanhla. Prof, keen to bring you in here, about quantifying that risk of municipalities. That's also based on, Nhlanhla's comments there.
Thanks so much, and good afternoon to your viewers. I think we're doing a very good job in quantifying it in direct answer to your question, but of course we're not doing a very good job in resolving it. It is, as Nhlanhla's just specified, a really, really serious issue. I think, as the politics prof, I've got to give you the politics angle, and the politics angle is rather important, because what you're talking about here is a kind of a legitimacy crisis, basically, because you've got to ask yourself why so many people are not paying municipal bills. And those are not just single individuals. There are large companies that are not paid, that are in arrears to a significant extent, including very important parts of government itself. In various, you can look at Ekurhuleni, you can look at Tshwane, wherever you look, there are countless examples where people and corporations and parts of government themselves are not paying for their electricity, and where there has also been a lot of underspend in infrastructure. So although in infrastructure budgets and projects, and so we have a kind of, I know it's an overused term, but we have a sort of polycrisis on our hands. We have a crisis where by, as Nhlanhla said, we have skilled individuals on the ground, but there is a liquidity problem that is created by lack of payment and also lack of political will and capacity to ensure payment. There's one thing to think that corporations, individuals will, out of goodwill, pay for their bills. And there's another thing to think about: how do we ensure that they pay their bills? And that is a political and a legal question. Because if there is no punishment for non-payment, then of course it's, frankly, I'm sorry to say, human nature to not pay your bill. So what this is a matter of legal and political malfunction at core. And in other words, we sit in a kind of legitimacy crisis. At the top, we have a government that is failing to be held accountable by the people, partly as a consequence of our political structure, but also as a consequence of I'm afraid, deep corruption within the ANC and other parts. But that legitimacy crisis, that lack of accountability, then filters down into the systems where you have a kind of technocratic lack of accountability as well. But the source of the lack of accountability lies at a political level. We are not able properly to hold our politicians to account. And if we are not able, the people are not able properly to hold our politicians to account, then they then don't feel the pressure to hold the people below them, over whom they hold authority, to account. And that is the source of a lot of these problems.
Thank you for that, Prof. And I'll give you a context. The reason we wanted to have this conversation is because I think last year, or it could have been the year before, National Treasury actually announced a very, I thought was exciting and comprehensive plan to assist municipalities to get relief for some of the backlog of the ESCOM debt that was sitting on their books. And we fast forward to today, and that actually hasn't quite achieved what we thought it would achieve by now. Nhlanhla, you'd have seen the balances have grown. It means that many municipalities are, first of all, struggling to stay on the program or to make use of the program, many not even qualifying to enter the program at all. And that does speak, I guess, to a solution that I think we all lauded and thought, okay, this could really work. It's clearly not working the way that we had anticipated here. And that is really what's causing concern here. We focus on electricity, but I think similar things can be said about water here when we speak about service delivery in South Africa and what we're not quite getting right here. I think Prof has mentioned that it is a poly-crisis, but I'm keen to get your thoughts also here on some of the workings within municipalities that could also be really hindering the ability for them to hop onto a program like this and to stay on.
Thank you very much. This is a very, very good question, because I was also one of the people who were very excited about the program, the debt relief program, because in the past 10 years, I've been sitting in intergovernmental, structures that were seeking to find solutions on the issue of the debt. And then we were still talking about 20 billion or even less than that. And now we're talking over 70 billion. So we were very, excited as SALGA to find out about the debt relief program, which obviously is a program that we've worked together and make inputs to, to the National Treasury. I think, it's also worrisome for us that even the municipalities that qualified to, to get into the program are also dropping off the program as well. And I can tell you from the SALGA point of view, why is that? We're looking at the assessment of municipalities that are in these programs and that are dropping on the program. I think more, reason is as a result of, I think the conditions, I'm not going to say the conditions are onerous. They are possible. The conditions are possible. But I think the manner in which things has regressed in municipalities, it's quite very, very difficult for them to be able to do all the things that National Treasury is expecting of them within this short space of time. And I'll make a few examples. One of them is for a municipality to stay in this program, they must be able to pay the current account of Eskom. And yes, we agree with that. But now, in order for the municipality, your typical municipality, to be able to stay and commit to that, they need to first get rid of the losses that they are experiencing in their system, on their jurisdiction. And most of those losses mean lots of technology needs to be taken into consideration, lots of auditing that needs to take place to look at those meters that are tampered with, lots of issues that needs to be sorted out around the billing itself and some of the information that National Treasury expects to get from municipalities. So some of these things, they take a bit of time. And I think one of the main reasons why the municipalities are dropping off this program is obviously the time they've been given to turn around issues that they are very much well aware of, but they know that they need a bit of time to actually turn around those situations. So there is a bit of a catch-24 situation here, because National Treasury has to enforce. And we agree that they have to enforce. But also on the other side, we have to look at the realities. If I want to roll out smart meters in my municipality to get rid of the losses that these municipalities are experiencing, I'm going to need to go and tender, which is also another process that takes a lot of time. And I'm going to need to actually roll out and have a program to roll out. And that could take anything between 12 to 18 months. Mm-hmm. And already National Treasury is expecting me in a month or two after getting into the program to actually start paying Eskom. And that is not so possible. So it's some of those paying issues that we are trying to discuss with National Treasury, that look at the realities of these municipalities. And I want to say that these municipalities, when they are doing their reporting to National Treasury, you can see that these people are working hard to turn around the situation, and they've been presenting very positive results, but it's not the speed that National Treasury is expecting from them. So there we have a dilemma then, because now they have to drop out of this debt relief program due to actually maybe all stakeholders that are involved not wanting to realize the kind of realities that are there on the ground, because the infrastructure is falling through, and the meters have been tampered with, and in some instances there's not even meters at all, because our citizens are vandalizing the infrastructure. People are not patriotic enough anymore to secure and protect their own infrastructure. So this is a dilemma that we still need to address between ourselves as municipalities and National Treasury, because the main and key issue is to look at realities. Yes, we don't support the municipalities that would be delinquents on the program, not at all. But we've seen the evidence of these municipalities that have been summoned by Treasury to present some of the issues they have and some of the progress that they are making. It's quite positive, but not in the speed that National Treasury is looking at. So this is a dilemma on this relief program. Thank you.
Prof, I want to bring you in here. There's something that I call coalition scaries, and that's us really being afraid that coalition governments don't work at municipal level because of some of the inefficiencies that have also presented themselves even in metros as a result of some political issues. I'm wondering that as we think of solving this poly-crisis or this dilemma that Nhlanhla makes mention of in our municipalities here, can we realistically solve it with coalitions? Can politicians work together for the good of municipalities? And I call it coalition scaries, because I also understand that there could be political incentive to run a municipality in a coalition, so that citizens never want to see a coalition ever again.
Look, I'll say right off that it's not very easy, but it's not that easy, as we've seen from the last, 10 to 12 years, without coalitions in most places, to also run these matters at municipal and even national level. So things like corruption, things like all of the things that Nhlanhla has been pointing out occur whatever form of authority, whatever form of political authority you have in place. a coalition can work just as well as a one-party state can work. It just depends upon the coalition. It depends upon the coalition partners being able to work together, which they do across the world, and they don't across the world. It depends on where you're looking and who's in coalition with whom. So, I mean, sorry for the vague answer, but the fact of the matter is the fact of coalition doesn't change anything. Coalition or non-coalition is not the issue here. The issue here is clean lines of authority, clean lines of legitimacy, clean lines of accountability. And Nhlanhla has pointed to the fact that you've got a national line of accountability and you've got a municipal line of accountability. And the problem is, so the first problem is there are some, as Nhlanhla called them, delinquent municipalities, like eThekwini or Durban, for example, where you have incredibly deep levels of corruption, and also you have incredibly deep levels of political factionalism within one single party, the ANC. So one of the most dysfunctional municipalities is not in a coalition. So I don't think the question here is about coalition. The question here is about politicians being held to account by citizens, and politicians acting in a way that they hold to account the various people that are paying or not for what we call service delivery in this country. That's really the nub of the question, and something has to change. One thing that will change, of course, will be that the ANC will not be in a very dominant position nationally and also in lots of municipalities. And that may sort of counterintuitively be a rather good process for accountability, in the sense that they can be held accountable to a greater extent than they are now by coalition partners, and thus they may have to deliver on their authority structures in a way that they haven't in the past. It's something that we'll have to see. But what's very, very clear is that the figures that we have before us in terms of dereliction of payment, in terms of dereliction of use of budgets for infrastructure, maintenance, etc., is a crisis of really significant proportions. And ultimately, the people that hold the responsibility for these matters are political leaders. The technocrats that are carrying out the instructions of political leaders are just that. They are technocrats. They are not the people that are being voted in by us and representing us in carrying out these functions. They are, as Nhlanhla is pointing out, in many cases, working very hard to do their job. What is missing is coordination between national, municipal, etc., and accountability. And that is ultimately a political question. So all I can say is that these forthcoming elections will be a test to see whether big change, because big change is coming, can help or further destroy.
Well, it's all we have time for today. I'd like to thank you both for your time and insights. I think a conversation we need to keep having in South Africa just until we see the change I would like to see. Thank you both. That was Head of Energy and Electricity Distribution at SALGA, Nhlanhla Ngidi, and Professor Lawrence Hamilton, who is Professor in the Department of Political Studies at the Wits School of Social Sciences.